Hi, in this lesson, we'll learn about while loops. In programming, we use loops when we need to execute code over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are two types of loops in programming, indefinite loops and definite loops. Today we'll be focusing on indefinite loops. These are loops that will repeat an unknown number of times. The control flow structure used for indefinite looping is called a while loop. A while loop is a control structure that repeats instructions as long as some condition is true. So let's take a look at a while loop structure in Lua. We start with the while keyword. Next comes the condition. This condition should evaluate to either a true or false value. Then we have the do and end keywords to mark the start and end of our loop. Between these keywords, we have the code body, which is the code to run if the condition is true. Notice that like functions and if statements, the code inside the while loop is indented. Let's take a look at an example while loop. We'll walk through this program line by line. First, we create a variable named count and assign it the initial value of 0. Then we'll take a look at the while condition and ask, is count less than 3? 0 is less than 3, so this evaluates to true, and we enter the while loop. Then we execute the code inside of the loop. We print the current value of count, which is 0, and we increase the value of count by adding 1. So now, count has the value of 1. We reach the end and go back to our while loop condition. We'll ask again, is count less than 3? 1 is less than 3, so this evaluates to true again. So we enter the while loop. We execute the code inside the loop, print the value of count, and add 1 to count, giving it a value of 2. We reach the end and go back to our loop condition. Now is 2 less than 3? Yep, still true, so we enter the while loop again. And execute the code inside, print the value of code, and add 1. This means the count is now 3. We've reached the end again, so we go back to the condition. Is count less than 3? Well, this time the answer is false. 3 is not less than 3, so we exit the loop and continue on with the program. An infinite loop is a loop that has a condition that will always be true. This means that there is no condition to stop the loop, so it will run indefinitely or forever. It's very easy to accidentally create an infinite loop. When not done on purpose, infinite loops can cause our programs to crash because they get stuck in the loop. Let's take a look at two common mistakes. Going back to our example, what if we change the condition from count is less than 3 to count is greater than or equal to 0? This would make the values of count be 0, 1, 2, 3, and keep going, 4, 5, 6. These values are always greater than or equal to 0, meaning that our condition will always be true, and this will result in an infinite loop. Let's look at one more example. What if we change the code inside of our while loop so that we're only printing the value of count? This will print 0 over and over again to the console because count is always 0. Because the value of count will always be 0, the condition will always be true. This will cause an infinite loop. Here are a few tips to avoid accidentally creating an infinite loop. You'll want to double check your condition. Make sure that something inside the code body changes so that the condition will eventually evaluate to false. It's always safe to write the code without a loop and test that first. However, sometimes we actually want to create an infinite loop. In Roblox, we might want code to repeat as long as the game runs. For example, we might want a part to change colors repeatedly, or to continuously disappear and reappear. To create an infinite loop on purpose, we can set the condition to true. We'll explore this further in Roblox Studio later in this lesson. Now that you know all about while loops, it's your turn to use them in your own programs.